Our next reader is Alyssa DeCarlo. She earned a BA in American Studies from Rider University in 2012 with a focus on pop culture. This is her last semester at Rosemont College, where she's working on an MFA in creative writing. This makes me very sad. Alyssa has had poetry published in the Transient magazine and is currently working on her thesis, which is a young adult novel. Alyssa lives in Philadelphia with her boyfriend and their 2 dogs. All right, welcome, Alyssa.
So this is the first chapter of my thesis. So anyone who read it in workshop, take comfort in knowing that I took all your advice and hopefully it makes you happy that it's much better than it was. Okay. So the background, it's about 3 brothers and their best friend, and I live in a small town in Pennsylvania, and it's kind of like the seedy underbelly of the small town, just kind of weird shit that they have to work through. Chapter 1. Drinking is funny. You get warm, you get happy, and sometimes you get laid. Last night was not one of those times. I drank alone in my room. That happens sometimes too. I needed to unwind after a long day of taking care of everyone else. It's easy to get lost in that. I'm a little hungover from my one-man fiesta. I just kind of stand in the shower for a bit and let the water hit me directly in the face. I tilt my head back until it rests on my shoulders. Water fills my mouth to the edges of my unbrushed teeth. Can't really remember the last time I brushed them. Can't really remember the last time that was important. I'm graduating high school in 2 hours. Is that enough of an occasion to warrant brushing them? The familiar creak of the bathroom door catches my attention. Everything creaks and groans in this trailer. Cigarette smoke invades the dense steam. You better not be taking a shit while I'm in here, I say. Shaving your balls? My little brother August asks. I can hear the cigarette in his mouth, a sarcastic smile unfolding across his thin chicken lips. Find an extra pack in Mom's underwear drawer? I ask. The curtain breaks away from the edges of the shower wall, and a puff of smoke answers my question. The toilet lid smacks against the back of the porcelain tank. Our trailer has 1 bathroom. There's 5 people that live here. We lived here my whole life. That's a lot of time spent waiting for the bathroom. It's comparable to the time I've spent sleeping. I wouldn't have to steal if you'd just buy them for me, he says. Grow some chest hair and we'll talk. August flushes the toilet and a rush of scalding water streams down my back. The shower is small, leaving me little room to escape. Hilarious, he says as his shadow disappears. Mom and Lou just left. I think they took Rowan with them. They wanted to get good seats. Lou is Mom's girlfriend. They've been together a long time. Rowan is our older brother, and he's brain damaged. I'm not saying that to be an asshole, it's just true. Give me a minute. The door closes, but the smell of his lit Newport lingers. In my neighborhood, the front yards lived in because they are. Litter lines the lopsided pavement. The display of furniture rivals that of a Goodwill home aisle. The California Sunshine Trailer Park is the place that I call home. I don't live in California, though. I live in western Pennsylvania. But I guess naming a trailer park after a state that's thousands of miles away makes life beyond these broken split rail fences seem attainable. August and I sit on the pastel pink and green floral love seat that has been out by our mailbox for the past 5 years. The delicate flowers have faded from years of intense summer sun and painfully cold winters. The love seat is positioned to give a perfect view of the rows of trailers that surround ours, including Jesse's, our next-door neighbor, and my best friend. I thought we were both doing this, Jesse asks as he itches his crotch through his blue graduation gown. He's wearing nothing but his gown and a pair of muddy work boots. I never agreed to anything, I remind him, and wait for him to lock his front door. My khakis are wrinkled and barely meet my scuffed brown dress shoes, because the last time I wore these pants, I was at a 10th grade dance. I kind of stopped growing that following summer. I'm forever stuck at 5'10", but hey, at least I'm actually wearing pants and a shirt under my gown. The shirt I'm wearing belonged to my dad. Nothing fancy, just a bowling shirt. But students were told to wear it buttoned down, and this thing's got a lot of buttons. Mom was using it as a cleaning rag until I rescued it, a fate suffered by most of his possessions that he left behind. Lucky not coming? August asks. We all start walking for my car at the end of the driveway. Meeting us there. He had to stop by the store first, Jesse says. Lucky is his older brother. They own a video rental store on Main Street. I work there too as a clerk. Ozzy Eucalypt, shit, Jesse continues as we get to the car. I give him the finger and settle behind the wide steering wheel. The cracked leather seat forms around me, but it isn't a perfect fit. The Chevy remembers my father better than I do. The car was his. He left it like he left us, at the end of the driveway without a direction in the world. I couldn't sleep. It was too hot, I mutter. With a tight fist, I battle years of my father's cigarette ash and roll my window down. It never gets easier. The ashtray is still full of his old cigarettes. No one's ever tried to throw them away. The car is the one thing my mom has never had the heart to mess with. Maybe it's too big a piece of him. It's gotta be hard trying to sleep, standing up in front of your window. I woke up to take a piss last night and saw you, August says. I ignore him and point to his chest. He puts his seatbelt on. You too, I say over my shoulder to Jesse in the back seat. Spent cigarettes aren't the only things my father has left behind in this car. The glove box is stocked with a killer cassette collection of only the best classics. I shove my hand out in front of August's face and start shaking it uncontrollably. One slap for every second until a black Sabbath tape is in his hand. He attempts to swat my hand away, but I'm too quick. I get 2 slaps in before he reaches into the glove box in front of him. He fumbles for the right tape. I slap him twice more. It's not in here, he whines. I press play, and the sound of heavy metal pours through the stereo. Oh, forgot that was in there. August fixes his hair and his tie. Both are crooked and disheveled. Tie that yourself? I ask him. Just admit it. You're watching Rowan again, aren't you? He only spends time in that shed when he's working on one of those fucked up projects, August says. I ignore him again. Rowan's my responsibility, not his. Thank you for visiting Roaring Springs. We hope you come back. Please come back. Please come back and break us of our vicious cycle of inbreeding, Jesse reads as we pass the town border. The sign doesn't really say that. From here until Northern Mason High School, it's nothing but open fields, the occasional farmhouse, a few churches, and a deli. It's a regional school, though, so a bunch of kids from 3 other towns go there, too. While the vastness of the landscape in itself is impressive, what I find even more impressive is the utter loneliness of it all. I told August this once. He told my mom I was depressed. She threatened to take me to talk to someone, but she hates shrinks, so nothing ever came of it. I happen to be one of those people that doesn't see anything wrong with a little loneliness. August and Jesse trade jokes and jabs, desperately trying to outdo each other. Something catches Jesse's attention before he can turn his comedic wrath on me. You see that? Jesse asks and points out the back driver's side window. I take my eyes off the road for a second and look back at a guy in the opposite lane as he scrapes a pile of red goo and golden fur off the sweltering asphalt with his bare hands. Ugh. Holy fucksticks, I groan and throw the car in reverse. I forget to breathe for a second or 5. The tires squeal and the Chevy comes to a grinding stop. Oblivious to the humming 67 Nova engine in the opposite lane, our older brother Rowan works the glisten of his hunting knife back and forth as he separates clumps of flesh from wet white bone. An ear and snout lay cast off in the grass, and the once flowing tail of a dissected retriever is slung over his wide left shoulder like a dish towel used to sop up a mess he's made. So much for him getting a ride with Mom and Lou, who must have told him he was getting a ride with me. Oh shit, Jesse groans. What do you got here? I ask. I don't want to scare him, not when he's like this. These impulses of his, they take over his brain and hold him hostage. If you're trying to hide what you did, you might want to brush the goddamn innards off your freaking shirt, August shouts from his half-sunken position in the passenger seat. Startled out of his trance, Rowan locks his eyes with me as he stands up and twists his soiled hands behind his back to hide the knife. The knife drops at his feet from behind his back, but he stays put. I didn't kill it, Rowan replies. A wave of nausea wrecks my already churning gut, and I can smell the iron in the air. The remnants of a s'mores-flavored Pop-Tart swell in my throat. I punch August in the shoulder. He cries out a little, but I didn't hit him too hard. It was just to shut him up. Should we call your mom? Jesse asks. Sweat marks start to outline his gown. The closest payphone is 5 miles in the wrong direction. I ignore him and turn back to Rowan. No one said nothing about killing anything, I say. At least he's not a killer. He's just collecting, I tell myself. He's just fascinated by roadkill. There's technically nothing wrong with that. I repeat these 4 sentences until my hands stop shaking. I can't change anything about this. The dog was already dead. I was just moving it, Rowan insists. I shift the Nova and park and give August the nod. I step out, careful to take my time approaching him. The angle of the road takes the weight of the car door away from me. I got you, buddy. Just get in the car. I'm graduating today, remember? I take another step, the tip of my shoe touching the yellow line that divides the black road. Don't do that. Don't talk to me like I'm retarded. We know you're not retarded. I'm older than all of you. Yeah, we know that too, I say. Ozzy, get back in the car, I hear Jesse whisper. Rowan blinks hard and shakes his head like someone's trying to reset the button in his brain. Wait, graduation is today? He asks. I'm just as surprised as you are. I think my teachers are too, I say. I try to make it seem like he didn't forget. He can't have a full-blown freak-out. Not today. Not when I'm supposed to graduate. I take another step, putting my foot completely past the yellow line and my open hand in his direction. In a sweeping motion, Rowan swings his hands out from behind his back and brings them over his head. His fingers interlock and seal with the blood of his afternoon find. He paces and mumbles words that only he can understand. August beeps the horn of the Chevy and my chest tightens. I turn and throw my hands up. We can't just leave him here. Someone will call the sheriff, I argue, and push my hair out of my forehead. Lou wanted to cut my hair before graduation. She said I looked like a girl with it almost at my shoulders, but I just change the subject anytime she brings it up. August sighs and searches for something to say that'll change my mind. We're gonna be late, Jesse says. You were late almost every day of high school. What's the rush? I ask him. His eyebrows arc in agreement. Mom will have our asses if the sheriff brings him home, I remind them. Jesse quickly moves over in the back seat to make room for Rowan. I do not want to be at odds with that woman, Jesse says. I turn back and try to coax Rowan away from the carcass, but I'm too late. Standing a foot or so away from the Chevy, Rowan holds the meat pile close to his chest like a small child. It needs to go in the trunk, Rowan insists, and takes a few small steps towards the end of the car. He's baiting me, and by his fifth step, I'm sprinting towards his target destination. No way in hell are you putting that in Dad's car, I say, and stand with my arms folded and my stance wide. I hope that my planted feet and stern look make up for my lack of height. It's not that I'm short, he's just freakishly tall. I don't know where he gets it from. My dad isn't tall, and neither is my mom, yet he's a goddamn Viking. I need these parts. I don't have ones like this, he says. Well, that finishes any doubt I had about the collecting. The dog will still be here when we come home, I argue. You don't know that, he says. And I swear he has tears in his eyes when he says this. This can't just be about the dog. It can't be. Does anyone else feel like we're negotiating with a terrorist? August asks. Jesse raises his hand. I promise. We'll get the dog on the way back. I'll ask Lucky to borrow his truck. We'll tell him it's for something else, I say, half begging. Jesse's right. If we're any later to graduation, my mom will definitely know something happened. Rowan steps real close, his breath on my face hotter than this June sun, and I watch as blood trickles down his cheek and collects at the tip of his bearded chin. The shiny red drips down and leaves the front of his black Star Wars shirt slick with visceral matter. Rowan backs away from the car and looks uneasy as he, with disturbing care, lays the dead dog down further off the side of the road. He stares for a bit and admires his specimen before bending back down to stuff some of the insides back inside its mostly hollow belly. All right, we gotta clean him up, I say and point to Jesse. There's a backpack under your seat. Brought the nicest shirt in there. The backpack contains some hand-me-down shirts, an extra pair of pants, and baby wipes. I keep it for occasions just like this, because they happen too often. Jesse opens the backpack. His face goes blank. There's no shirt there. What do you mean, no shirt? Yeah, that's what I said, no shirt. You're fucking blind, August groans and jerks the backpack away from Jesse. He frantically rummages through the bag and empties its entire contents in his lap. August sighs. Yep, no shirt. I curse under my breath at myself and start unbuttoning my shirt. Try this, I say and toss Rowan the shirt. The material of my graduation gown feels scratchy against my now bare chest. Is this Dad's? He asks. I lie and shake my head no. He would never wear it if he knew it was. Rowan's old enough to have more memories of Dad than me. Bad memories. I run a wad of baby wipes over his face, his arms, and his hands. He didn't get enough blood on his pants to warrant stripping down to his boxers in the middle of the road. His eyes are on me, but they're a million miles away. I imagine millions of little wires, short-circuiting, sparking as they try to get a grip on the line between mania and reality. I open the back driver's side door and tell Rowan to get in. I crank my arm back and throw the bloody Star Wars shirt and the bloody wipes into the field opposite of the road. Settle back behind the wheel, I give myself a quick once-over and make sure I didn't get any blood on my gown or my pants. Ain't that shirt a little small for you? August says to Rowan in the back seat. I can see his belly button, Jesse whispers. Enough, I say and hit play on the stereo. Did you know that there are 319 bones in the body of a dog? And like humans, they can be born with extra, so some dogs have 321. Their skeleton is made so they can run really fast because before we domesticate them, they used to chase and hunt things, Rowan says to no one. Where'd you learn that? Jessie asks. The encyclopedia. You read the encyclopedia? Don't you? Not lately, Jessie says. Ozzy, you know what happens after you graduate? Rowan asks me. What's that? I ask. You become a man. I look back at him through the rearview mirror. The shirt I gave him barely meets the waist of his jeans, but he looks like he doesn't have a care in the world. No pain, no anxiety, and the panic of 5 minutes ago completely dissolved in the happiness of my measly accomplishment.